Thank you. It's a very lengthy introduction, but I was a former, I'm a retired diplomat, but coincidentally, sorry, I have been personally experienced on the nuclear security issue. 2014 Nuclear Security Summit, I was a Sherpa, kind of the working level representative for the summit meeting. And now I'm working at the KINAC, so where the Center of Excellence, the International Training Center for Nuclear Security, is located. It's previous session, one of our officers in KINAC explain in details the activities in INSA, the Korea Center of Excellence. So kind of the special ties, I now still have some, this kind of my personal destiny is not separated from the nuclear security issue. So for this session, we have 4 presenters, distinguished presenter from IAEA, Ms. Dr. Elena Buglova, and another lady, female officers from the Energy Department from United States, Ms. Katherine Holt, Nuclear Security Administration, NNSA, and 2 gentlemen from KINAC, so is responsible in Korea for nuclear security issues. First, Mr. Chang, sorry, you can see the names in the booklet. So 2 gentlemen in Jang Sung-sun and Lee Jeongho. So because time constraint, we have to conclude this session by 1:20. So I need to proceed immediately, and I kindly ask all 4 presenters to limit your presentation around 15 minutes maximum, and followed by the Q&A session. First speaker, I think it's quite interesting as good balance between the ladies and gentlemen, the balance, gender balance and the empowerment of women. 2 ladies first, IAEA, Elena, Dr. Elena Buglova, the first speaker, presenter. She's been working over 30 years, professional experience on nuclear safety and nuclear security. Most notably, and particularly, she has been working in even her home country, experiencing a Chernobyl incident, and she was involved in activities aiming at minimizing consequences of Chernobyl and NPT accident to the population of the Belarus. I know it's already 30 years passed since the incident, very terrible. And since 2002, she was invited by the IAEA to the several different positions with progressively increasing responsibilities dealing with various aspects of nuclear safety and nuclear security and emergency preparedness and response. It's very rich and wide experience and capability on nuclear security affairs. And also she was involved in the IAEA's response to Fukushima Daiichi accident in 2011. So she's now, since this year, January 1st, she's working as a director of Division of Nuclear Security, IAEA. Welcome, Dr. Buglova. The floor is yours, and go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and good morning from Vienna. It's my honor to speak to you today at the Nuclear Non-Proliferation and Security Symposium 2021 and to discuss the intersection of the NPT and nuclear security. Let me start from a bit of historical background describing the evolving context of nuclear security. During the height of the Cold War, nuclear deterrence and nuclear proliferation dominated the national security agendas. A bipolar global security structure gave rise to the nuclear deterrence. In their national security strategies, states considered calculable threats of high-intensity, low-probability nuclear conflicts based upon the predictable rational behavior of known state-level adversaries. Concerns that additional states would acquire nuclear weapon capability, so-called horizontal proliferation, led to the conclusion of the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons in 1968. The end of the Cold War was marked by a shift from a bipolar structure of global security to a multipolar world. An increased risk for low-intensity national and regional conflicts emerged with new and more dispersed threats involving a large number of actors, criminals or terrorists, which operate with trans-border networks. The discovery in the early 1990s of clandestine nuclear programs in Iraq and the DPRK prompted the development and adoption in 1997 of the Model Additional Protocol to Safeguards Agreements. In addition, the disintegration of the Soviet Union resulted in a larger number of states being left with nuclear weapons on their territories and having responsibility for nuclear material. Also, dismantling of nuclear weapons resulted in large quantities of weapons-grade nuclear material in storage facilities. The many cases of illicit trafficking in nuclear materials triggered an awareness of the need to strengthen the national physical protection regime. In 1999, the IAEA Director General convened an open-ended group of experts to examine the need to strengthen the Convention on the Physical Protection of Nuclear Material, or CPPNM, which entered into force in 1987. The work was completed in 2003 when a report containing a number of proposals to strengthen the convention was submitted to the IAEA Director General that would lead to the adoption in 2005 of an amendment that significantly strengthens the original CPPNM in a number of important ways. This very month, May of 2021, we are celebrating the anniversary since ratification of the amendment, because it happened exactly on 8th of May, so in the past. The events of 9/11 in the USA demonstrated a new scale and organization of terrorist groups, which prompted the international community to reevaluate the threat posed by terrorism, including potential threats to civilian nuclear programs. These tragic events gave another push into the development of the nuclear security program at the IAEA. We all know that responsibility for nuclear security within a state rests entirely with that state. However, the need for regional and international cooperation has become increasingly evident with the growing recognition that nuclear security within one state is affected by the adequacy and effectiveness of nuclear security measures taken by other states, particularly when nuclear material is transported across national borders. The last decades were characterized by active international developments in the area of nuclear security, which shaped the agency's role in this area. A lot was achieved. The IAEA has a central role in strengthening the nuclear security framework globally and in coordinating international activities in the field of nuclear security, including in cooperation with other international organizations, like, for example, the UN Office for Disarmament Affairs, the UN Office of Counterterrorism, and the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1540 Committee. The nuclear security program of the IAEA has been a fast-growing program, which is mainly supported by the extra budgetary funds from member states and is implemented through the Nuclear Security Plan. The first Nuclear Security Plan was approved in March 2002 by the Board of Governors, along with creation of a voluntary funding mechanism, so-called the Nuclear Security Fund. Now we are implementing the 2018-2021 plan, and the new Nuclear Security Plan for the next 4 years is now being developed together with member states. The Nuclear Security Program of the IAEA aims to contribute to global efforts to achieve effective nuclear security. The IAEA encourages and facilitates adherence to and implementation of relevant international legal instruments, and in strengthening the international cooperation and coordination of assistance. In particular, we promote universalization of the 2005 amendment to the CPPNM. The IAEA establishes comprehensive nuclear security guidance and, upon requests, promotes its use through peer reviews, advisory service, and capacity building. So far, 40 publications have been issued under nuclear security series. Many of them are in different official UN languages. In this context, I would also like to mention the International Physical Protection Advisory Service, or IPAS, which was established in 1995. Up to now, we have concluded 91 IPAS missions, and 55 countries benefited from this advisory service, which is conducted by the IAEA with involvement of experts from various states. The IAEA also provides assistance to states to establish effective and sustainable national nuclear security regimes for physical protection of nuclear material and associated facilities. In particular, assistance is provided in establishing nuclear security regulations, requirements, and associated procedures, which ensures comprehensive regulation of physical protection and include a licensing requirement or other procedures to grant authorization. We also assist in developing appropriate methodologies for the use of accounting and control of nuclear material for nuclear security purposes. Also, the IAEA provides technical assistance to member states upon request to implement risk reduction activities, including physical protection enhancement, repatriation of spent nuclear fuel, and implementation of end-of-life management options for disused radioactive sources. The IAEA provides capacity building activities in the nuclear security area. In 2020, regardless of challenges which all of us were facing due to the pandemic, the agency conducted over 40 training activities for more than 650 participants from 75 states. In addition, 23 webinars for more than 3,000 participants. Clearly, many of these activities were conducted virtually. All webinars were conducted virtually, but as you have noticed, agency did not stop for a minute, and it also could be said about implementation of its nuclear security program. I would like also to mention the nuclear security conferences, which IAEA organizes every 3 years since 2013. There were 3 conferences up to date, with the last one organized in 2020, February, just before the lockdown started to be implemented in Europe. Each of these conferences was arranged having 2 main parts, a ministerial segment and a scientific and technical program. To conclude, I would like to summarize the IAEA role in the nuclear security in the NPT context. In past review conferences, states parties have emphasized the important role of the IAEA in fostering international cooperation in nuclear security and in assisting member states upon request in their efforts to enhance nuclear security, which we have been doing, as already mentioned, among others, through the Nuclear Security Plan and the international conferences on nuclear security. The 2010 Review Conference, the last conference that agreed on a final document, called on all state parties to the CPPNM to ratify the amendment to the convention. The Director General, as depository for the convention, must convene a conference of states parties 5 years after the amendment's entry into force to review the implementation of the amended convention as well as its adequacy. Preparation for the conference, which will take now place in March 2022 due to the pandemic, is already underway. In past NPT review conferences, state parties have encouraged the IAEA to continue assisting them in strengthening their national regulatory controls of nuclear materials. The IAEA works with member states to prioritize nuclear security needs through developing integrated nuclear security support plans, which are based on the guidance provided in the Nuclear Security Series publications. These integrated nuclear security support plans facilitate nuclear security improvements and assistance tailored for each state. Of significant importance, state parties have been also called upon in the current and past review cycles to ensure that the use of nuclear energy must be accompanied by commitments to safeguards as well as appropriate and effective levels of safety and security. In this context, states parties have been continuously called to consider becoming party to relevant security-related conventions. The IAEA supports countries to establish and to improve legal and regulatory infrastructure so that they can benefit from nuclear technologies safely, securely, sustainably, and peacefully. The IAEA has contributed to the implementation of NPT states parties' commitments on nuclear security. We hope that states parties will build on previous review cycles at the next review conference to further support the IAEA's work in this crucial area. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention. I conclude.
Thank you, Dr. Buglova, for your very comprehensive and detailed kind of the briefing orientation of IAEA activities concerning the nuclear security. Personally, I was involved in the Nuclear Security Summit since 2016. It was handover, for example. So IAEA now take a primary responsibility to proceed and develop this nuclear security agenda. And South Korea is the host of the second Nuclear Security Summit. And 2016, December, I remember, so Korea hosted chair the IAEA conference on nuclear security in Vienna. So I remember, and all the initiative I passed and nuclear security guideline, and also South Korea is now contributing the nuclear security fund as a co-member, maybe member of Troika of Nuclear Security Summit. So I, on behalf of not its Korean government, but always we are very supportive of IAEA's initiative and its connection, intersection of the NPT is quite vital and important for IAEA continue work. So please accept South Korea's continued contribution and support. And particularly, so South Korea is now in lunch time. It's not perfect time, but the situation, your case is much worse. So it's about 5 o'clock in the morning. Yes, so I remember. So when North Korea tests nuclear weapons, so it is Vienna time is around this time, between 4 and 5, all in the morning. So wake up call. So I appreciate you are in your office and very early in the morning from 4 o'clock around. So I need to compensate certain ways for a shortage of your sleep. Thank you again. And next, the presenter speaker is Katherine Holt. She is a program director Office of International Nuclear Security in NNSA, U.S. Department of Energy. She's been working for nearly 15 years and held a variety of positions in the WMD threat reduction, non-proliferation, and arms control fields. She served also as a staff member in the U.S. Congress and State Department's Bureau of International Security and Non-Proliferation. She joined the U.S. Department of Energy since 2010, and she currently serves as the Program Director for Analytics and Innovations in the Office of International Nuclear Security. Thank you for your participating in our symposium, and then particularly appreciate your time also in Washington, D.C. It's very late night, I guess. Thank you for your attendance again, and please go ahead. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Ambassador. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from Washington, D.C. It's a pleasure to be with you for this important symposium on sustaining the NPT for 50 more years. I'm honored to be on a panel that explores the intersection of the NPT and nuclear security. And I would like to express my personal congratulations to Dr. Buglova for your recent appointment as the Director of the Division of Nuclear Security at the IAEA, and to my KINAC colleagues for your strong partnership and leadership on nuclear security. We all share in the imperative to reinforce the third pillar of the NPT, emphasizing the fact that nuclear security, along with safety and safeguards, is an enabler of the peaceful uses of nuclear technology. As we are all too aware, terrorism and nuclear proliferation do not recognize international boundaries. The international community must remain vigilant in addressing the evolving threat of nuclear and radiological terrorism, especially by preventing the potential acquisition of such materials by terrorists, extremists, non-state, and other malicious actors. In order to combat these threats effectively, we must work together to continually improve nuclear security nationally and globally to help ensure that nuclear and radioactive materials are protected from theft or misuse. The primary internationally legally binding requirement on security, the CPPNM and its amendment, which requires states to meet physical security requirements for nuclear material in use, storage, and transport, and requires states to mitigate against sabotage of nuclear facilities, is critical to advance, especially with the upcoming CPPNM review conference. The fact that we continue to face the threat of nuclear terrorism and the constantly evolving nature of this threat means we need to ensure that nuclear security is strengthened to address new and emerging threats in a proactive manner. For nuclear security, we recognize the importance of not just physical protection of nuclear material, but also the importance of maintaining other essential elements of security, including effective computer security, nuclear material accounting and control, response capabilities, transportation security, and insider threat mitigation. These elements are essential requirements at the national and site levels using a graded approach consistent with InfoCirc 225, Revision 5, and associated IAEA guidance. Effective national implementation combined with real international cooperation between states and international organizations bolsters security from the inside out and the outside in, and is critical to ensuring that any gaps in our security architecture are closed. It's this global nuclear security architecture that enables all countries to reap the peaceful benefits of the atom. If the unthinkable happened and an accident of nuclear terrorism occurred, it would have negative repercussions for peaceful nuclear applications everywhere. There are many beneficial uses of the atom, whether via electricity production or nuclear medicine, but they only exist as part of a comprehensive framework outlined in Article 3 of the NPT, and that requires strong safety, security, and safeguards considerations. Part of this framework is protecting people from the risks of the material if mishandled, as well as protecting the material from the risk of misuse by those who wish to do us harm. So again, nuclear and radiological security is an essential element that enables effective, peaceful uses and should not be viewed as an impediment to such. As significant growth continues to occur worldwide in the use of civilian nuclear applications in general, and in several countries through the development of new or expanding nuclear power programs, it requires a sustained focus on nuclear safety and security to enable the continued use of peaceful applications of nuclear energy. And to further support this growth, we reaffirm our support for the central coordinating role of the IAEA in strengthening nuclear security. The IAEA Division of Nuclear Security's work is essential to helping member states reduce the threat of nuclear and radiological terrorism. The agency's role in developing nuclear security guidance through the Nuclear Security Series and other technical documents, as well as their role in executing advisory services and missions at the request of member states, is an invaluable resource. And we appreciate that work is always underway to update or expand the guidance as necessary, especially as emerging technologies such as drones or advanced reactors become more prevalent or possible. And so as an example of concrete action, I would be remiss if I didn't get the chance to highlight that the US and the Republic of South Korea have a strong and long-established track record in nuclear security cooperation. We have been pleased that despite the challenges of COVID-19, the US and ROK have been able to successfully conduct multiple virtual engagements, leading to greater collaboration on regional nuclear security issues. My office, the Office of International Nuclear Security within the NNSA, has continued to engage with ROK on multiple areas within the nuclear security framework. INS has collaborated with KINAC and their Nuclear Security Support Center, INSA, on counter unmanned aerial systems and cybersecurity. And my office wants to extend an additional note of appreciation to Ms. Jeongho Lee of KINAC for her partnership. And finally, we appreciate the international leadership ROK demonstrated in hosting the second IAEA International Training Course on Computer Security. In closing, without a strong nuclear security and safety regime, citizens may consider nuclear technologies too risky. If lax security results in an incident, popular opinion may sour on nuclear technology, notwithstanding its benefits. We know that meeting security commitments remains essential at the site, national, and multilateral regime levels, even more so today as risks and new technologies continue to evolve. We are working with partners on comprehensive, customized, and proactive approaches to nuclear security, being mindful of its importance as well as its interfaces. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you today. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Ms. Holt. Yeah, that's true. The ROK and United States, even the last week, it was May 21st, US ROK summit meeting in Washington, DC. If you see the joint statement, it was clearly mentioned in the area of WMD, nuclear non-proliferation and nuclear security, the separate phrase and wording. So we have very strong and close partnership on global agenda, including nuclear security. You stress the 3S, safety, security, safeguards. That's a core and essence. And South Korea is also the member of Troika, United States and South Korea, Netherlands, as always, is trying to do something in the forthcoming and initiating and advancing the agenda and all kind of the programs and activities together with IAEA. That's a very essential role. I know the close friends of mine is Laura Holgate. She was my counterpart during the nuclear security preparations. So please convey my hello and greetings to Laura. Okay. Thank you. All right, now.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Two ladies from IAEA and Washington, the DOE. And next, the gentleman, two gentlemen from Korea, the same institute, IAEA. 누가 먼저시죠? Okay. First, Dr. Jang Sung-sun. He's now working director of Physical Protection Division, and he has a long time experience in physical protection regulation since 2006. And he got the PhD degree for quantum information theory in Korea Advanced Institute of Science Technology. I think Madame Buglova and Katherine, she explained the more general situation and more policy area. And now we two gentlemen, the male presenter, Dr. Zhang and Dr. Lee, will focus more technical area, how to implement and conduct nuclear security, the plan and activities in Korea, particularly in KINAC. So it's contrast and looks very interesting, complementing the both. Now, Dr. Zhang, it's your floor. Your topic is security considerations for SMR. SMR, so it's some people is not familiar with that is small modulated reactors. Okay, how to protect in the nuclear security. Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. This is Sung-sun Jang, and I would like to appreciate Ms. Buglova and Katherine for her presentation for these hard times. And also, I would like to appreciate this KINAC for giving me opportunities for this interesting and very hot topic about small modular reactors. So my name is Sung-sun Jang, and as introduced by the ambassador, I am the director of the physical protection systems, and my background is the regulation on physical protection for more than about 15 years. And so it means that I'm working on security, but I'm not familiar with the new reactors, small modular reactors. But I tried and accessed several interesting issues in SMR, and I would like to present on it. So my presentation is starting from some features of SMR and some security issues on it, and then continue some security principles and its implications, and I'd like to conclude my presentations. So there's some SMRs, there's some nuclear security issues, so I'd like to address it. So what is SMR? According to my understanding, there's several types of SMR. Some is the set of SMR replacing existing nuclear power plant. I understand that in these cases, this small modular reactor is economical because its modular features, it can be manufactured in the factory and moved to the site. So the manufacturing of reactors and the construction of sites will goes to parallel. So its building time is reduced from the usually more than 5 years to 2 years. That means that it is less period of construction and it's more economical. I expect that usually the one-fourth of this money spent on the building nuclear reactor is from the interest of this loaned money and capitals, so that reducing time will decrease the cost of the building new reactors. And so second application of a small modular reactor is a very small reactors in the sparsely populated areas and remote areas. So this in areas, this small modular reactor can provide, even it's small, it can provide enough power, and it can give a sustainable power source to these recent areas. Even Russia and China building and operating floating small modular reactors. And which is this small modular reactor is considered to be very safe, and it is now people believe that renewable energy is not a mature technological stages and technical background, so that many people believe that small modular reactor can be bridge over this carbon emitting coal and oil power plant to the transition to the wind and solar energy, which is renewable energies. And also SMR is the new reactors, so it is expected to be very safe, secure, and strong resistance to the proliferations. So why people are so interested in small modular reactors? It's a low building cost and time by its modularity nature, and I already addressed it. And also it is enhanced safety, including its passive safety functions. It is expected then thousands times safer than existing conventional nuclear power plant. And also it is because it's a small nature, it is smaller footprint. You can see in the pictures that it is compared to the conventional modular reactor, conventional nuclear reactor, the modular small SMR is occupies smaller areas, and even it can be installed in the existing coal and oil power plant. And also it has small spent fuel inventory and less radioactivity. So considering this in mind, I believe there are some issues on the security like followings. Okay. Oh, please, it's not. Okay. Okay. So security issues of small modular reactor designs, I believe that we should consider the stand-up attacks. Example, malicious aircraft crashes should be considered. And also, if it is operating in sparsely populated areas and shared by the main control room for several set of small modular reactors, it is expected to have a fewer staffing, including on-site personal response personnel. And also, because of this fewer staffing, it is expected to have a super inside problem could arise on it. Also, there are some cyber security issues because it is downsides. Remotely operating small modular reactors is more vulnerable to cyber attacks. And also, it is in public acceptance level. So how secure is secure enough? Even it is very small. Does people think it very secure and safer? Because it is even it is small, it is radioactive and it is nuclear. So I don't know what is the public acceptance and how secure is secure enough is some problems. So let me go my thought on the security issues on small modular reactors. First is depends in depth problems. So even if small modular reactor is a much more safe system, and also it's a passive safety system, so it is not expected to the active operation to cool down nuclears. And so it is strong and passive, but it lacks diversities because it is its cooling and mechanism comes from the gravity, pressure differences, it is come to temperature differences and convection. So even it is strong and passive, it lacks diversity. It lack of the safety system is less diversities. So if adversaries well-planned attacks deliberately exploit this vulnerability, and if they consider this kind of intentional attacks that could cause large break loss of coolant, And so for this problem, I thought about that we can think about that compensate this weakness by active and redundant safety system. But it means that we need more cost, and the main benefit of the small modular reactor is its cost-effective features and less building time. And so but for this defense in-depth problem, it could arise the cost of building small modular reactors. And second issue is the container vessel is also containing the has a turbine steam generator inside in it. So it's everything is contained in small modular reactors, but it is expected to the less barrier, more smaller and less robust to outside attack. So this container of the small modular reactor is maybe even very strong enough to protect the insider nuclear energies, but is it strong enough to protect the outside attack, like a stand-up attack, including aircraft impact and North Korea's long-range cannons? So that is my second questions. And maybe people thinking about that underground siting. So put the small modular reactor deep inside the underground, that could give us stronger and protection and enough delay for the adversary to attack. However, that could arise some problem of costs and some high maintenance problems. So it is very hard to access to the maintenance of this small modular reactor, and it is vulnerable to flood. Third point is on-site response forces. Small modular reactor researchers and vendors request the reducing operational and maintenance costs, including the number of security staff. But as the Union of Concerned Scientists in 2013, they had published the Small is Always Beautiful. So they said that reducing the secret force and nuclear reactors would appear to be penny-wise, but pound foolish. So usually there should be the secret forces is more than 120 personnel. Secret personnel is worse in the nuclear power plant. But if you reduce the number of the security staff, then is it enough? So instead of the secret staff, we may consider the unmanned aerial vehicles, unmanned aerial systems, and unmanned weapons. But if you neutralize people using these unmanned aerial systems, there should be arise legal issues. So it is reducing the staff. Security personnel is my concern, third concern. Okay, and for the graded approaches, so to be cost effective, security requirements on small modular reactors should be relaxed because of this small radioactivity. So security requirements should be relaxed to proportional to its radiological consequences. To do that, we need a security requirement for various small modular reactors. I read that there's more than 50 types of small modular reactors under research. So regulatory body needs to develop prescriptive and scalable performance-based security requirements to address these small modular reactors, and it is challenging to regulatory bodies and needs substantial security assessment as well. And also because there are fewer staff and shared control room, it is more vulnerable for super insider and cyber risk increases. So we need some stronger trustworthy system and cyber protection. So it costs. So in conclusion, my point of view for benefit of small modular reactor is cost. It's very economical. So it is promising breakthrough after Fukushima accident utilizes advanced technologies for lower costs and higher safety and security as well as safeguard. For small modular reactors, main advantage is economic feasibility, and however, security regulation is likely increased cost, and we need to have some research in how to solve these problems. And to facilitate these small modular reactor technologies, it needs to be built new regulatory requirements, including substantial security assessment and the change of some security concepts like on-site response process. So this conclude my observation on small modular reactors according to some basic principles and my worries. So people is still work hard on these small modular reactors, and for the regulatory point of view, we need to develop the flexible regulatory requirement for this small modular reactor in the secret concerns. Thank you for your listening, and thank you for cheers.
Thank you, Dr. Zhang. I think it's very informative, and we have good chance to get to know about what is SMR, firstly, and the usefulness and advantage to promote SMR to further strengthening the nuclear security protection. So your conclusion, so I agree, I like to accept, but so whether the international community, particularly IAEA, has shared the same view in terms of safety and security, in addition to the energy efficiency, whether the reactor is such a very advanced model to share. So this is the questions, it's an open question. Now, to save time, next presenter is Dr. Lee. He'll make a presentation on the cybersecurity, particularly your special area. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your kind introduction. And my name is Jeongho Lee, and it is my great honor to have a chance to introduce our work on cybersecurity.
Sorry, I forgot to introduce yourself in more detail. So, Dr. Lee, he is also the senior officer in KINAC here. So he is director of cybersecurity division, and he's working for more than 10 years. And he has been also the on-site experience as a nuclear security inspector, and also had experience with IAEA to assist developing a technical guidance and developing an international training course in computer security. That's why I call him expert on cybersecurity and computer security. Sorry.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. Well, in this session, I'd like to introduce our work on cybersecurity regulation. And when I'm preparing this talk, there are several questions coming to my mind. For instance, what is the relationship between nuclear non-proliferation and cybersecurity? And also, how does my work contribute to the nuclear non-proliferation? Well, I think everyone in this room might have similar questions, and I hope my talk will help to answer, to find some of the answers. Okay. Well, in this session, I'd like to introduce how we have been doing in cybersecurity area. First, I'd like to start from the incident that forced us into cybersecurity regulation. And the next, I'd like to move on to the our main focus and activities of cybersecurity regulation. And next, I'd like to address a little bit on the training effort to cultivate cybersecurity expert. Well, this is addressed by before the presenter, Ms. Chair. So I'd like to introduce a little bit. Okay. And then finally, I'd like to wrap up my talk with our future plan. Okay, let me introduce the incident that made us jump into the cybersecurity regulation. In December of 2014, the incident, so-called Who Am I, happened. Well, the hacker group addressed themselves who am I, just sort of a joke, and released a series of documents related to nuclear power plant on a social media service, social network service. And they threatened to Korean government that to stop the nuclear power generation, or they will initiate serious attack to the nuclear power plant. Well, fortunately, at the time, nothing serious happened. However, somewhat the hacker group succeeded to raise public anxiety and horror on the nuclear power generation. Well, this incident kind of putting the cybersecurity regulation forward in Korea. Okay, right after the incident in 2015, the Korean government initiated cyber threat assessment to revise the design-based threat. Well, until now, it is not concluded, and it is still controversial whether the DBT is right tool to address cyber threat. However, at the time, we used DBT as a tool to initiate cybersecurity regulation within the existing nuclear security regime. After the cyber threat assessment, we revised design-based threat to include cyber capability. Based on the revised design-based threat, KINAC organized the cybersecurity division to start cybersecurity regulation. But at the same time, Korean government initiate to start to revise the legal framework for the cybersecurity regulation. Okay, when we start the regulation, our primary focus were to prevent cyber attack vectors from contributing to unauthorized removal and radiological sabotage. Nuclear facility has such a diverse digital assets based on information technology and also the operational technologies. Well, speaking of information technology system, we can apply a bunch of technical measures such as vaccine software, network monitoring system, or host-based intrusion detection system, and so on. However, OT system has lots of limitation to apply technical measures. Well, speaking of operation technology system, it's like newborn baby. Well, for newborn baby, who has premature immune system, or for those baby, providing clean environment, vaccine-free, not a bacteria-free, germ-free environment is prior to the developing his or her immune capabilities. So for the OT system, providing secure environment is our primary goal. And also applying technical measures to both an IT and OT systems may require change the facility design. So to change the facility design, the security requirement is another factors we have to consider. So from this perspective, we develop short-term plan to apply operational measures which can be performed by human beings. And then we developed long-term plan to apply administrative and technical measures. Well, this is how our approach to apply cybersecurity regulation. We break down our plan, our cybersecurity regulation plan put in place in the existing nuclear power plant. First, both regulatory body and nuclear operators need to organize their cybersecurity teams and implementing activities. And next, the analyzed facility itself and identify critical digital assets as important. Critical digital asset is subjected to cybersecurity regulation. Okay, after identifying critical digital assets, we categorize those assets and well, we grouped, categorized, and we divided the level and assigned proper security measures. In first step, well, we start to control the inputs to the critical digital assets. Well, nuclear power plant or nuclear facilities are usually operated by separate network from public internet. So portable devices like thumb drive or laptop computer for maintenance is primary delivery for the contamination. And in fifth step, well, we started the hardware or software, the configuration management to detect abnormality. Okay. And sixth and seventh step, we are still working on to put in place, well, administrative measures and technical measures. Still, we are working on the change to some of the network configuration in a nuclear power plant in a right manner. Okay, so far, this is the cybersecurity regulation framework we have developed. Well, this is not much different from the nuclear security regulation framework. So, well, I like to skip this slide for time constraint. Okay, another thing that I like to mention is our effort to develop training programs. Well, applying cybersecurity measures to a nuclear facility requires the expertise for both cybersecurity and facility operation. So this is kind of like gray area that we have, which is challenge for us. So in order to cultivate expertise of nuclear cybersecurity, well, KINAC joined international activities to develop a training program from 2016, and we successfully held international training program in 2019, and we are using some of those developed training modules for domestic trainees, and also we are developing intermediate training program for cybersecurity personnel working in nuclear facility here in Korea. Okay. Well, so far I introduced the what we have done to put cybersecurity regulation in place. Now I'd like to wrap up my talk with addressing our future plan. Okay, we are preparing for managing, well, critical digital asset to include vulnerability management based on risk assessment. And also we are trying to expand our regulatory boundary to control INC systems supply chain. And also we are conducting research for developing, well, security requirement, especially cybersecurity requirement for small modular reactors. Well, for small modular reactors, well, I think we need to develop more communication security requirements for those new type of reactors. And also we are developing cybersecurity test bed based on our nuclear power plant simulators. Okay, this is my talk, end of my talk, and thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lee, your presentation on the cyber and computer security, but very important, relevant issue in developing the nuclear security cooperation and mechanism. Thanks for your cooperation. We have about 15 minutes left, so it'll be available for our Q&A session. So I'll throw some very general questions to all four presenters. So I don't know who is going to take that the questions, but as I mentioned, so previous session, Dr. John Bongun mentioned the nuclear weapons, the threat of the possible use of a nuclear weapon. This is a doomsday clock. Clock is now ticking, and only a few seconds. How much seconds now? Maybe 90 seconds. But we compare this nuclear security threat as kind of a black swan. So many leaders when they attend the nuclear security summit, the black swan can appear and coming anytime. And the leaders said it's the gray rhino. It's a little bit, slight different concept, but anyway, it can happen, but we don't know when exactly. So cybersecurity, that issue is kind of black swan or gray rhino. And after the receding trend of the regional and global terrorism, the peoples now easily forgetting the threat, constant threat of the nuclear security. So the group of the IS or Taliban or other groups in Middle East and the Africa. So I don't know why, but exactly the United States, the global wide the campaign to suppress the international terrorism, or certain new global challenge is pandemic, COVID-19 and climate change. So all issues now cyclical. Now priority is pandemic and climate change. But this nuclear security issue remain as it stands now. So whether it's black swan or gray rhino, is everywhere. It's like a cyber security. I'd like to hear from Katherine. So the recent case of the ransomware, that's a kind of hacking cyber threat to the US, the refinery, the pipeline companies. So likewise, the nuclear security that issue can be applied to the nuclear reactors all over the world. So how much well prepared South Korea, particularly in the United States, so any possible attack, cyber attack from, for example, our immediate neighbor or others, well known for their hacking technology, cyber threat. And Dr. Buglova, so you mentioned about the CPPNM, that's a review conference will be held soon. And another important international treaty, that's ISANT, and UN Security Council Resolution 1540 and 1373. So what is the main priority topic or area now is now considering and planning to discuss and develop, or to trying to draw some kind of the agreement, consensus? Of course, expansion, the number of the signatory to strengthen the nuclear security mechanism. What is the main purpose and goals to achieve and that the review conference? And how, so you are very busy and working how to combine every related resources to improve the nuclear security. So you mentioned the guideline, the plan, security plan, EPAS, and INS serves, and EDSEC. So variety of the initiatives and your existing programs, how you can put together, combine all the resources. So that's I heard and witnessed in the Vienna when I was ambassador to IAEA. And this is open question. And lastly, another question is SMR. So general assessment, it's good for the energy efficiency, improving, developing nuclear energy reactors. But so what about the assessment from international community, IAEA or IEA? So SMR is now, seems to be, for Korea, is concentrating to develop instead of the large scale of the reactor. But what is the general assessment in addition to our own, the Korea's assessment? Sorry, it's very diverse and I don't know how you're going to respond. And now I open the floor. If there's any questions, please. So, okay, raise hand, please take a microphone. Who? Oh, online question from Tatsuhiro Suzuki from he's in Nagasaki University. He's now attending. Yesterday, he broke panel. I have a question for all speakers on nuclear security culture. In Japan, recently we had a serious nuclear security breach at Kashiwazaki Kariwa nuclear plant. I don't know where, but maybe our experts know that nuclear plant. Please give us any guidance to improve nuclear security culture, especially to address internal threats coming from internal threat to improve the nuclear security culture. Sorry, so my eyesight cannot read this short, very, very little. Can you enlarge, or somebody can read instead of me? Okay, so while we are waiting for those questions, please, maybe according to the order who made the presentation, made a statement. Madame Buglova, you are first, and second, Katherine, and Dr. Zhang, and Dr. Lee. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, distinguished chair. You have raised many important questions, and also there was a question online. So let me just touch base of several topics. First of all, with regard to the CBPNM and many other initiatives and activities which IAEA is doing. Well, indeed, there are very many activities, and there are many areas which IAEA has covered throughout the years. And as our Director General has mentioned at the beginning of this year, due to many active efforts done in the past, we have achieved now together the universal understanding of the role of the IAEA in the area of nuclear security, and we have achieved together a certain level of achievements in nuclear security program. But now, as he said, it's time to roll up our sleeves and continue working, meticulously checking different areas in order to make sure that nothing is left behind, that we have addressed all the topics. So that's what we are doing now, seeing how all these activities and initiatives which we have together with tools, for example, appraisal services, contributed to member states' needs, and what are the areas where we need to concentrate. For example, there were different speakers were talking about cybersecurity, and indeed, agency concentrates its efforts in this area as well. As an example, I can say that within this large number of webinars which we conducted during the pandemic, we specifically introduced a special series on cybersecurity. There was a series of webinars in this area, which each of these webinars was covering some special part of cybersecurity threats and how to deal with these threats. Also, with regards to SMRs, this is a topic which is being addressed by different parties within the IAEA, because it is multifaceted problem, and nuclear energy, nuclear safety, nuclear security, emergency preparedness and response, all of them are involved in this area. And there is a work being done together with member states through consultancy meetings and involvement of different committees to achieve member states' consensus. We are now shaping up different inputs into potential guidance, and to see how the existing guidance in the area of safety and security could be applied. With regard to the security culture, I also answered online, if participants are seeing it, to mention that just last month, we have published a new document exactly on the topic of nuclear security culture. It's IAEA Nuclear Security Series number 7, Implementing Guide, and it provides hands-on recommendations on how to address this topic. So it defines the basic concepts and elements of nuclear security culture and provides member states with the international consensus guidance on planning and implementing a program to improve nuclear security culture. So that's what I would like briefly to mention, not to take much time and give an opportunity to other speakers to talk. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you. Briefly about your planning, the prepare for the CPPNM, what is the top priority area the IAC is considering you concentrate?
Yep, sure, absolutely. I have mentioned already that in March 2022, there will be a REFCON, and the preparation is on the way. So our role here as a depository, Director General is the depository of the convention. We assist member states. We are in your hands in this regard, but we are promoting the awareness of how we can help. For example, this month, on the occasion of 5 years anniversary of the ratification of the amendment, we updated our website page, which is dedicated to CPPNM, which explicitly talks about how to request us for assistance in different areas in order to increase number of states ratifying amended CPPNM. There are workshops in regions, international workshops, and explicitly tackling legislative questions and also technical questions. So that's just some examples which I would like to provide.
Thank
Over
you.
to you.
Thank you for your information. Katherine, it's your turn.
Yes, so regarding your first question about cybersecurity, well, I am not a cybersecurity expert. I guess I just wanted to comment on a few key cybersecurity goals, particularly from the nuclear power plant, management perspective. I mean, I think first and foremost, having a risk management program and that single point of contact is critical. Ensuring that the oversight of that program is visible and aligns well with the facility operations. I think everyone knows to establish a cybersecurity incident response team, a CERT team for event handling. And then of course, just, human resources, ensuring that cybersecurity awareness training for all staff, management, technical staff, that's kept current. So those are some things I'd offer for that comment. Regarding the question in the chat on nuclear security culture from our Japanese colleague, one thing I would just like to add on is that under Information Circular 908, which the US sponsored as a gift basket coming out of the nuclear security summits, and then became, of course, a series of those gift baskets became IAEA information circulars. So this one's on insider threat mitigation. And we essentially launched at ICONS 2020 the InfoCirc 908 International Working Group, and Japan is a core member of our steering committee. So I, would recommend Kazuko Hamada is a real leader on that international working group and our steering committee, and she's actually instrumental in setting up a focus group on nuclear security culture. So she may be a tremendous resource, and certainly things that come out of our InfoCirc 908 International Working Group, we hope will help be a community of practice and can help more generally. But appreciate the urgency of the concern and the question, and would be happy to follow up offline if we can be of any assistance. Thank you.
Thank you, Katherine. It reminds us the gift basket. So whenever we had the summit meeting here, Director General of Foreign Ministry in charge of the nuclear energy and non-proliferation. Yeah, at the time he was responsible for gift basket, how to prepare to give the basket to the summit meeting. So we're old friends now in the same room. Okay, now we always time passed for the rest of the presenters. I give, 1 minute for each presenter. Sorry.
Okay, so I would like to answer for SMR questions. For small modular reactors, we are not engaging in the reviewing process of small modular reactor design. So I have less knowledge on the technical details of the small modular reactor. However, I believe if we cooperate with the regulatory body and the vendor and researcher, we could achieve some agreement on the safer and secure and strong proliferation resistant small modular reactor if possible. And for security cultures, I appreciate our thanks to the Japanese colleague for this important question, because it is my daily concern, the nuclear security cultures. So people is easy to avoid the security procedures and do not understand importance of security. So I can't give you the detail, but basically it should be agreed between the employers, visitors, the nuclear facility, that nuclear security is important, and so it is promoted by the training and educations and public awarenesses, as well as the criminal penalty of the violation of the security rules. So that's all of my questions.
Thank you, Dr. Zhang and Dr. Lee, your final.
Thank you. I'd like to address, well, two of the questions, and insider and cyber. Well, insider and cyber, both, I think the common thing, both of those issues is we have to somehow, we don't have, well, make 100% immune environment from insider issues and cyber issue. Somehow we have to admit we can, we will have insider issues. We will have cyber threats. Well, whenever, while we have nuclear power generation and using computer technology in our nuclear facilities. Well, accepting those two, and the important thing, if we cannot eliminate all those insider or cyber threats, we have to make our preparedness, well, we have to accept that threat and make our environment more resilient. Okay, I think that's the our basic mindset and how we are going to push ourselves forward. And finally, I'd like to mention this. Well, we are living in the world that, well, we will hope for the best and prepare for the worst. That's the world we are living. Thank you.
Thank you. Hope for the best, but prepared for the worst. That is the message. The same context to the black swan or the gray rhino. That's the possible threat of nuclear security all over the world. But preparation provides opportunities. So that is another word. So if you prepare well for the nuclear security, always the opportunity, chance will be given for our side, the benefits. So without further wrapping up, I think today's the session of nuclear security definitely will contribute the forthcoming NPT review conference, the strengthening the NPT regime, 3S particularly. And I thanks particularly to the lady represented from the IAEA, Madame Buglova and Katherine, in the very early in the morning as well as very late night. I see you need to take some nap, rest. Okay, we pretty much enjoy, and thank you for your all participation, and the two gentlemen from KINAC too. Thanks very much. The session is closed. Thank you.